And so I think that we owe it to the earth, to ourselves, to future generations, to the water, to the children, to life in total, to honor the natural process of things and allow women the role that they were designed for, which is the wisdom keepers, the keepers of the culture. All indigenous people know this, they do this. Grandmothers are the keepers of the culture. They pass along the information to the young ones. Grandfathers are the storytellers. They're the coyote people. You know, they tell beautiful stories. But the thing is, they're not concerned if the story's true or not. Just if it's a good story. That's the entertainment value. Everybody knows, all the kids know, it's only for entertainment value. You want to know the truth, you go talk to the grandmother. You want to hear a good story, you talk to the grandfather. And so grandmothers have always been that. And so I think that what's happening is this information has kind of, has gotten public. And even people who may not be in touch or knowledgeable of their indigenous roots, so to speak, are now getting the information. And women, grandmother, I mean, inside of every grandmother, there's a young girl wondering what happened. Inside of every grandfather, there's a young boy wondering what the heck happened. And so we are all poised to be the ancestors of the future. So we learn this from the get-go. You know, it's like the grandfather in me is waking up. The older I get, the smarter my grandfather becomes, you know. And so we are all these things. And so and in time, like, you know, there's a season for all things. And in time, this knowledge, this wisdom, this inherent knowing, and you know now, you can meet little girls and they just seem to have this incredible wisdom. We call them indigo children or crystal babies. They just come into the world now with this knowledge because it's like the universe can't wait for us to get old. You know, so now they're putting it in babies, saying, okay, listen to these children, they're telling you the truth. And so, and it seems to be the life givers that will lead the way, whether they're little girls or whether they're grandmothers or whether they're, you know, women in between.
And how can we as men learn to better honor the women and also learn to be led in part by women?
Well, I enjoy reading this poet, Rumi. And so Rumi says men and women don't meet each other, they're in each other all the time. And when you really meditate on that and ponder that, you realize that inside of every person there's a male and there's a female. There's a masculine, there's a feminine. There's a positive, there's a negative. Any kind of duality you want to put on it. But men quite naturally have the facility to do chores or act in behavioral ways that have culturally been associated with women. And so men shy away from it. Oh, men don't do that. You know, that's a woman's job. But when you go inside, you feel like, well, wait a minute. There's a part of me that longs for that, yearns for that. I like to hold babies. I like to take them for walks. I like to, all of a sudden you find yourself wanting to do these characteristics or behave in ways that has been associated with women, but it's not. It's human. So you don't want to get genderized. You want to realize what it means to be a human being. I mean, people in the white culture basically have two genders that are acceptable. All the rest of them are questionable. But the Muskogee Nation has 16 genders. We have 16 genders. I mean, there's a lot of latitude there, you know, to be human. I mean, you've got, that's right, I got all kinds of choices here. The menu is huge, you know. And so, and if you portray certain traits, you're not considered outside of the genderized cultural norm. It's quite natural. You're on the menu. You come into the menu in a way that's acceptable. There's already a spot for you. You know.
So it's like a spectrum
Yeah.
of human behaviors of which we follow along.
And it's like a rainbow. It's like a color spectrum. You know, it starts over here dark blue into purple, and it winds up being over here. But you got all these colors, and they're all beautiful, and they're all acceptable. And there's not just black and white. And so, and they even refer to them as the rainbow people. You know, the rainbow tribe. It's in our culture. And I think that's what's needed, is for men to really focus and concentrate on whatever it takes to realize their humanity. It's not about being a man or a woman. It's about being a good human being. And when we do that, and we know where we came from, you know, we didn't come out of, you know, we came out of our mother's womb. Okay, our father participated, but we came out of our mother's womb. She's the one who nurtured us and incubated us and gave life to us into this world. She taught us how to be human inside the womb. Very basic premises. You think, what must I have learned? Even if you don't remember, you can imagine, what must I have learned in there? What must it have been like? Imagine yourself in there and think of what would you have learned? What would you have listened to? What would you have seen? What would you have tasted? What would you have experienced? And think, whoa, and relive it now. It's the same. Our mother's gotten much bigger. We're not inside a womb with triplets or quadruplets. We're inside with 6 billion and counting, and other life forms. Our imagination in the womb has come to life. We may have imagined all these things, what it was going to be like, and here it is. And so, you know, that was that old fellow Albert Einstein that said, the only nation I want to belong to is the imagination. Here we are, members of the imagination. And I'm reminded again that the only difference between memory and imagination is that typically we ascribe truth to one and not the other, when in fact, it's all true. You know, we imagine the past just like we imagine the future, because you can ask somebody who was somewhere you were what happened, and you'll get a different story. You go, wait a minute, was I really there? I don't remember that. You know, and so it's like different for everybody. Then you realize, well, I imagined it to be so, and I've been living with that for years, thinking that's what happened, and it's not what happened. I missed something that changed the whole ballgame. And so knowing this kind of information allows you to say, wait a minute, quite possibly everything I've ever learned is dead wrong. Quite possibly. So you go right back to zero, erase everything, hit the delete button, look at yourself, see where you're standing, feel your heart, take a deep breath, and go, I'm a human being. Now, what does that really mean? And then start from there. You know, where there's breath, there's hope. You keep breathing, you look around, you get in touch with the fact that you are a sentient being, first and foremost. You're not a composite of the things it says in your wallet. You know what I mean? You're not what people ascribe you to be. You know, I'm a householder, I'm a landowner, I'm a PhD, I'm a pharmacist, I'm a doctor, I'm a hard-headed guy, you know, I'm a rough and tough. No, I'm a human being, born in my mother's womb, just like all human beings, and blood is coursing through my veins, and I have feelings, and you know, you get in touch with all this and forget about all these labels and go right back into there. That's what I suggest that men do in order to get in touch with what's really going on, and then it's not an issue about who's running things and who's in charge. It's just a natural way of life, and you have now put yourself into the mosaic.